This is Lucifer.
This is Entropy. Together again. We're together again for this particular video. This topic is one that we have discussed before, but not so directly as we're going to today.
Today we're going to be talking about Jehovah is the real Satan, and we're going to be talking about the Watchers and how
everything that we know, everything that we've been told is a lie. It's all been thrown up on its head. And in this discussion, we're going to be showing quite clearly that if you go with, instead of going with what you've been indoctrinated to believe all your life, Christians, and when I say Christians, I mean anyone who was raised in this Christian construct that we are all raised in. If we're raised really in the Western, in the West, even people who are atheist or whatever, they still have these Christian constructs. Everything that we believe, everything that we're told from a child, it's the opposite, and we're going to be showing that quite clearly, and we're going to be demonstrating it through what the Christians call the Word of God itself. If I were to give the stories that we've been taught as children to any child today, and I were to simply read the stories, most children who know nothing about this Christian, Judeo-Christian God would look at the Judeo-Christian God as not being the protagonist, that is the good guy, but the antagonist of most of these stories. I'm not going to get into each individual story. I have already discussed this. I discussed this years ago in my videos about the Tower of Babel, about my videos about the Garden of Eden, and so on. We're only going to be discussing briefly these things again. If you're interested, I'll put up links here so that you can go back and look at my old videos about these things. And of course, this is the basis of what Lucifera has been saying this whole time. Obviously, she is saying that Lucifer, that is the not so much the entity as the spirit of Lucifer, you might say, is in guidance to us as far as enlightening us to the truth. That is what she's been proclaiming all these years, and that's the reason why she's attacked. That's why we're both attacked, is because we're proclaiming the exact opposite of what the Christians say.
Okay, a little bit about Jehovah. God lies and murders anyone who disagrees with him or questions his authority. For those who have the eyes to see, you will see that many of the stories in the Bible have been turned upside down. It is clear as daylight that many in the world are worshiping the real Satan, Jehovah Yahweh, the demiurge.
This is a hard pill to swallow, and that's the reason why Christians attack us so much. But if you use the spirit of discernment that you're supposed to have, you will see that at the very least, you would see that the Old Testament, the God of the Old Testament is nothing but a capricious, horrible, horrible entity that constantly, he even destroys his own people for minor infractions. I mean, really, picking up sticks on the Sabbath deserves you to be stoned to death? Anybody who's rational thinking would say that's ridiculous. If they did it over in a Muslim country nowadays, the Christians would be appalled, and they should be. So why is it okay for your God to do the same thing? Now, the New Testament Christ oftentimes is depicted as something that is totally separate from this entity from the Old Testament. So, I mean, we're not going to get into details here, but just ask yourself this question. Was the Christ, if there was a true Christ and an actual entity, an actual human being that lived, that we refer to as the Christ, who was he the son of? Was he the son of this demiurge from the Old Testament? The only New Testament writer that I have major problems with is Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament. But I'm not going to get into that in detail here. But the thing is, Paul was a Jew, and you can tell by his writing that he was a Jew and that he was advocating the same Old Testament God of the Jews.
In the Bible, it says, God shall send the people a strong delusion, that they may believe a lie. And by the way, that's in 2 Corinthians. Thessalonians 2:11. Now, why would a God of love do such a thing? Look at the history of Christianity and Judaism. Deception, slavery, genocide, the anthem inspired by their God.
Yeah. And what is the strong delusion really? And when you look at it, it says that he's going to send a strong delusion, the so-called God of the Old Testament. He's going to send a strong delusion that they may believe in a lie. But basically everything that the Jews and Christians believe in is a lie. The idea that Satan deceives the whole earth, I can find that verse, put it up here real quickly. Satan deceives the whole earth. If that is the case, then where's the deception? Because later on here, I'm going to give some statistics of just how many Christians and Jews and Muslims there are on the planet. This demiurge, this Satan, has deceived the whole world. Now here, let's get into some of the lies that are told quite clearly in the Bible from the very beginning. Now, whenever we refer to any of these stories, we're going to be talking about different passages from the Bible and even passages from Enoch and other possibly other apocryphal books in this and in other discussions. We don't look at these things literally, and they weren't meant to be literal. Even the Jews of today know this, that these were meant to be allegorical. They are stories that are supposed to show something else besides the story itself. They're not supposed to be taken literally. But even in that, you can see that, let's just call him the character of Jehovah, is a liar. He is a liar. Look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 17. Be of the tree, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. Now, Christians, you just love to do your mental gymnastics with this one. The fact is, if someone tells you you're going to die, what does it mean? Does it mean you're going to die a spiritual death? It doesn't mean you're going to die sometime out in the future. It quite clearly speaks in the King James Version, on that day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. As I say, I have already discussed this in length, this specific passage in length in another video. Years ago I did a video on this. So, Lucy and I definitely see eye to eye when it comes to most things, and definitely when it comes to this. The thing is, this is a lie. Jehovah lied, but the serpent did not. Now, I'm not going to go into specifics about that because I've already done a video about that. If you would like to look at that, then I will put it in here in the section about the video, the description.
And Adam and Eve did not die when they ate of the fruit. This clearly shows Jehovah is lying. In Genesis 3:22, we read, And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever.
This verse clearly illustrates that this antagonist, Jehovah, in the story, was trying to keep human beings in the story from advancing to a higher level of consciousness. And I go into this in detail in the other video. But this is not going to be the last time that Jehovah in all these allegorical stories does this. Yahweh comes down, the Elohim comes down, El comes down, and continuously tries to stop human beings from advancing to a higher state of consciousness. Now, if you had a father, and your father was so full of hate, and so full of covetousness, and so full of pride, and so full of envy, that he doesn't want you to advance to his state. Let's say your father was a businessman. Let's say that he was a very rich businessman. A good father would want his children to become just as rich as he is, just as wealthy as he is, even more wealthy. He would want his children to actually achieve something in life. But according to the Bible, this God, Jehovah El, has no intention of allowing the people here on this planet to aspire to higher states of consciousness, because he knows that once they do, speaking allegorically, once they do, they will no longer need him. They will no longer desire to give him worship, which is clearly what he's addicted to.
Now, Jehovah is clearly hiding something. These verses show this. He doesn't want humans to become gods and know the great mysteries that are beyond him.
The demiurge is not omniscient. The Old Testament doesn't say anything about that. I would love for Christians who might hear this video to give me Bible verses that say that he's omniscient. I would love to see them in context, because he is not portrayed as this all-knowing, all-seeing God the way Christians portray him to be. Not in the Bible. Heck, he comes down to the Garden of Eden and he can't even find Adam and Eve. Where are you hiding? I can't find you. There are biblical examples of just what kind of God this is. It is over and over and over again. You could find multiple verses at what kind of horrible, demonic, evil entity this God you Christians worship is.
Bible examples of God being evil and the author of it. In Isaiah 45:7, Jehovah is the creator of evil. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things.
Both Lucy and I have cited this particular verse so many times to Christians over and over again here on YouTube, and they're always come back with the same lame response. Oh, well, that's the wrong version, buddy. That's the wrong version, honey. Well, Christians, this is the King James Version that we're reading from here. So, you want to be hypocritical enough to say the King James Version is the only true version. The King James Version is the only true version. Then we give you a verse that is only in the King James Version because they changed that real quick. I mean, I create evil. Wow, it's right there in your Bible. I mean, these people are not even hiding it, the people who wrote this. Here's another verse about evil spirits.
But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. 1 Samuel 16:14.
There are so many verses in the Bible that talk about genocide and slavery and murder and rape that for us to put them all up and to read every single one of them would take probably, I'm going to say literally 2 or 3 hours if I were just to read them and not even comment on them. There are so many verses in which your God, Christians, Jews, Muslims, your God is okay with these horrible, horrible deeds. Here I'll be putting up these verses. I won't be reading them verbatim. Here's one about genocide. The Lord is a jealous God filled with vengeance and wrath. That's a wonderful way to start right there, talking about the Lord, because the Lord, your Lord, because that's exactly what he is. He is full of vengeance and wrath. He takes vengeance on all who oppose him and fiercely destroys enemies. If you have a lot of enemies, there's a reason for that. You're either doing the right thing or the wrong thing. This God, this vengeful, deceitful, angry God.
There's a little part in the verse that says, "But he sweeps away his enemies in an overwhelming flood." This is genocide.
Of course. All of it is we as human beings are so beneath him that we deserve to die. So what does that tell you about him? Christians, you tell us all the time to do our research. Well, you need to read your own Bible, and you need to know that when you feel like you've been punched in the gut, reading about the evil that this entity you call God does, there's a reason why you feel that way. The Holy Spirit trying to tell you this ain't right. To go into all the details of all these verses would take far too long. Here, I'll give you another verse. "Go up, my warriors, against the land of Merathium and against the people of Pekod. Yes, march against Babylon, land of rebels, a land that I will judge. Pursue, kill, and completely destroy them, as I have commanded you, says the Lord. Let the battle cry be heard in the land, shout of great destruction." You people who praise and worship this demiurge have no excuse at all. You come up with the most lame excuses I have ever heard people say. It's like people justifying the brutality of a dictator of some kind. It's like somebody who really loves Saddam Hussein saying it's okay that he gassed people and things like that. He can do that because he's the dictator. This is the same explanation you give for your God. It's okay that he could do that because he's God. He created these things. No, he didn't. He didn't create you. The only thing, and this is a good segue for the next part of the video here, because the only thing that the demiurge created were a bunch of automatons that we call angels. Angel means messenger of El. El, Yahweh, Jehovah. I know we have a connotation of angel that it's something, a light bearer and wonderful like that, and it may often be even Lucy may be using it in that connotation. The literal meaning of angel is a messenger of El, a messenger of Jehovah, Yahweh. Lucy wants to discuss the other side of these so-called angelic beings, the ones who are here to actually help mankind, in reference to what Christians call fallen angels, which, anyway, she will be discussing this.
Now that we've revealed Jehovah Yahweh's true nature, let's talk about how he lies and uses the Bible to make certain, quote, angels look bad. you will see how that even this applies to those of us who are light bearers, how we are persecuted and condemned by the opposition.
Anyone, any entity or human that wants to bring enlightenment to other human beings is continuously condemned by the world, now that world being the Judeo-Christian Abrahamic faith world.
Okay, for those of you who are into the Book of Enoch, the Book of Enoch explained fallen angels, also known as watchers, who helped humanity. Now in these stories, you have the watchers descending to earth and giving mankind knowledge and wisdom.
The idea of fallen angels doing this, you can find also, by the way, that many Kabbalists believe that that's how the Kabbalah came, was from these angels who were not so happy with the control in heaven, and came and given an esoteric, mystery type understanding that human beings didn't already have. You can find some of the people who talk about the historical quote unquote idea of the Kabbalah coming that way. I wanted to read briefly a part of Genesis as well, since we are discussing these so-called fallen angels. Genesis chapter 6, starting with verse 1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply in the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that were fair, and they took them wives for all which to choose. And he goes on. This is, of course, the whole idea of the Nephilim and right before the flood. I want to point out here in verse 2 that it says the sons of God. The sons of God. It doesn't say the creation's God. Angels are creations of the demiurge. Angels are automatons. They don't have their own will. So therefore, if they were to come down against the will of Jehovah, it doesn't make very much sense that they would be angels. That's the reason why in verse 2 it doesn't say angel. It says the sons of God. Which suggests also, by the way, that if there are sons of God, then they must also have a mother, which would also be a deity. Who these beings are, I don't pretend to know. But one thing's for sure is that it doesn't say anything here, Christians, about them being fallen angels. It would suggest at least that these were fallen from God, that these people were, or angels or whatever, were doing at least they were in opposition to Jehovah. It would at least suggest that. It doesn't even suggest it. It simply refers to them as the sons of God, and you interpret it as being fallen angels. It's not in there. It's not even in the text. Whoever these entities are, the theory, if you will, that we're proposing here today is that these entities are there to help mankind, a sort of Prometheus type figure.
It is my personal spiritual inner knowings, and from some in Scripture, Book of Enoch included, that there are two types of beings on this planet: incarnated quote angels or watchers or light beings, however you want to put it, and regular humans. Incarnated angels descend to earth to help humanity, knowing they will be imprisoned on earth and go through fire.
Everything we're told is on its head. Everything we're told is on its head, because these so-called fallen angels, that's what they like to call these light workers That is exactly what they are. They're light workers. And it doesn't matter whether these entities are actually come down from the heavens to speak to people, or whether these entities are incarnate in human form. What's happening is the demiurge and his archons are going to want people to believe that these light workers are in fact workers from Satan. The only entity that comes as a spirit of light that is actually a spirit of darkness is your God, Christians. It's your God. It's not ours. We don't have a God. We realize that that power is within us, and that's what we're trying to convey to other people, that the God nature, the Buddha nature, the Christ consciousness is within us. And for doing that, we are basically called the fallen angels. First of all, I personally don't like being called an angel, even if you're saying it in a good way, because I don't see myself as a creation of the demiurge. And that's what an angel is. It's just an automaton. But going with the term, the fallen angel, I would proudly take it upon myself, because it is the exact opposite of what the Christians say it is. We're not fallen. We're not fallen at all. We're helping people to ascend. And in return, we are persecuted and oftentimes even killed as a result of us trying to do the right thing.
For some reason, in the past, the demiurge had the upper hand. So in this verse it says, this is Jude 1:6, "And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath received in everlasting chains under darkness, unto the judgment of the great day." What is this verse actually trying to say? Now, chains could equal the flesh, the earth prison, being limited, reincarnation, and darkness equals spiritual amnesia, no memory of who we are, ignorance, spiritual blindness.
This is very good, Lucy. Very good. This interpretation of this verse is certainly a lot different than any other interpretation that you heard. That's her interpretation, not mine. She gave it herself. Very, very interesting stuff. For whatever reason, and for whatever reason, it is the karma of us light bearers that we have to deal with being under this yoke, this chain. And this is very interesting. Everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. That's this interpretation that Lucy gives. Spiritual amnesia. That's very good. Fascinating. Yes, we are under that sort of amnesia. We don't know who we are. We don't know why we're here, until suddenly we do. And that's just basically the way it happens. And that for a Zen Buddhist is called Satori. It is enlightenment.
Now, when I said in everlasting chains under darkness, and I mentioned reincarnation, I mean, think about it.
That is an everlasting chain, yes. Until the chain is broken.
Until it's broken, yes. And with that Christ consciousness, or that power within, we can be free. You know, the Bible mentions the redemptions of the sons of God.
Interesting. Yes. The Christ consciousness that's within us. It's not something that's without. It's not something that we have to look at some other being that walked the face of the earth 2,000 years ago. Much of what the Christ taught, not this whole idea of this crucified Christ, but much of what he taught was directly taken from Eastern mysticism, one way or another. The person who wrote that the Christ said these things. If he was an actual entity, the Christ himself was familiar with Eastern mysticism. Now, also, from a biblical perspective, I would like to talk here about Revelation and Revelation chapter 12. To me, my interpretation of this is that this is a reading from something that hasn't happened yet. Revelation chapter 12, starting with verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and beheld a great dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. Verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule the nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God, and to his throne. And the woman fled to the wilderness, where she had a place prepared for God, that they should feed her 1,260 days. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought, and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast with him. Now this is the particular verse that I really wanted to focus on, and that is verse 9. Who do you think is in control of the heavens, is how I would refer to it, not heaven. Heaven's some abstract notion. I believe much of this is in reference to the heavens, which I won't get into details here, but you can see the definite comparison between much of what's called angels, much of what's seen in the sky, and things like Ezekiel, that these things are probably extraterrestrials. These stories aren't just made up the way atheists say. There's no reason for someone to just make up stories like this, except, maybe for entertainment. But these stories weren't meant to be entertaining. They were meant to be instructive. So when I say that many of these entities may be extraterrestrial, I'm only suggesting that you look at the possibility that they might be. The great dragon was cast out, the old serpent called the devil, and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. Well, there's only one power on this planet that is deceiving the whole world. It sure as heck is not the New Age movement. This is so ridiculous, Christians, that you want to blame so obscure, tiny amount of people that are on this planet. I'm not going to look at the actual numbers, because it doesn't do me any good to a lot of you Christians. But there are about 2.5 billion out of 7 billion people on this planet who call themselves Christians. And out of those 7 billion people on this planet, there are a few million who call themselves New Age. So, Christians, come on, get a grip. You actually believe that the New Age movement is going to somehow take control of 2.5 billion people? It would be logistically impossible for them to kill all of you off. It is impossible for that to happen. So let's stop with the whole everybody's out to get Christians crap, because it's a lie. But that's the point with a part of this verse that says that the old serpent called the devil and Satan deceives the whole world. He was cast out of the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. I find it very interesting in this verse that it says his angels. Well, who is the one who creates angels? Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahweh, El, and to you Christians, simply God. First of all, I'm talking about a future event here. And secondly, I'm referring to the angels of Yahweh, Jehovah. The reason we're using the term fallen angels is simply because people understand that terminology. But first of all, these angels that we're referring to as fallen angels are not fallen. If they're anything, they descended. And secondly, they're not angels because they're not servants of El. So a better terminology would be watchers for these beings that we were just referring to, the fallen angels. Everything is on its head. Everything said they're not fallen.
And watcher simply means the awakened one. Their eyes are open, basically.
The enlightened few, the light beings, the watchers, who are not fallen angels for, various reasons we already discussed. But that's what you Christians call us. And here in verse 10, I also find interesting, it's something that is constantly said over and over again in the book of Revelation. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now it is salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. Okay, I find something very interesting that had just occurred to me. It says, the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accuses them before our God, day and night. First of all, why doesn't it just say God instead of our God? Why does it constantly refer to the true God, let's say, the true God, as our God? Also, I find it interesting where it says here that the accuser accused them, that is, those who are following the true God, our brethren, is the accuser is accusing the brethren in front of our God day and night. So obviously this God, this called here the dragon, is obviously in heaven. So whatever it is, this Satan is in heaven accusing the brethren, our brethren, day and night. So if this happened in the past, then how could Satan be accusing any brethren? Because the brethren did not exist on this planet yet. This must be a future event. I mean, that just now occurred to me. Bing, because it says that the accuser is accusing the brethren day and night until the accuser is cast out. So therefore, Satan, according to this passage in the Bible, has not been cast out of heaven yet. Why hasn't Satan been cast out of heaven? Because he's sitting on the throne. And he is the God that you worship, Christians. That's why.
Wrapping it up, in regards to the Book of Enoch and even other scriptures, you can't take everything literal in these stories. They're trying to convey something. They're trying to tell you
a message that is for those who are willing to listen to it. There is some powerful occult meaning in all this stuff, even in the Bible.
You have to have the spiritual eyes to see these things.
I don't believe that we have more conclusively proven that the entity that you worship, Christians, Jews, Muslims, is the devil, is Satan, any better than we have today. We can't do it any better. So if this isn't good enough for you, which it won't be for most of you because you're so indoctrinated, blind, and stupid, if this isn't good enough for you, then there's nothing else we can do. You can go back and look at our old videos to get a stronger and a more comprehensive understanding of what we said today. But this is as good as we've ever put it. And if you can't see it, quite frankly, it's only because you don't want to see. I know this is not a Bible verse, but it's a great saying just the same, and that is, there are none so blind as those who will not see.
Okay, well, this is Lucifera Morningstar wrapping it up.
And this is Entropy. Good speaking with you again, and look for new videos. Goodbye.